Okay.
Okay, we're good to go. All right, welcome everybody. We have quite a few people here and thank you for coming to our meeting. I am calling the meeting to order. It is October 8th at 6:02. The first item on the agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity from anyone from the public. If you would like to speak with the board, we're here to listen. If you could just please identify yourself and try to keep it at a 3-minute level. We'd appreciate that. So is there anyone that would like to participate in public comment? I see more people coming on.
Hello, this is Tammy Mackin from the Canton Chamber of Commerce. I'm just requesting to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
At our November meeting, is that your request, Tammy?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? We have 25 participants, Heidi. Is that what it's showing? Okay. All right, is there any other public comment? All right, the next item on the agenda is County Legislative Representative update. And I see that Mr. Akers, you are with us tonight.
Yeah, it's great that you changed to Thursday. My only conflict would be soil and water, but I think it's next week. So we're good to go. So I'm glad to be with you. We presented the budget last Monday night. It's a $250 million, just shy of a $250 million budget. That's a little bit less than last year. The actual levy will be, the local levy will be going up to 50 million, which is about $1 million and some change increase. But the actual tax levy will be dropping from $8.28 per thousand of true value down to $8.19. So this is 5 years out of the last 6 that we've actually been able to decrease the tax rate, the true value tax rate, with the 6th year being held constant, which was last year. This year has been very unpredictable, so we're being very cautious. We know that we've spent about $900,000 towards the COVID, and so far the state has only reimbursed us about $600,000. So that's the big things about the budget. If you've been reading the news, you know that we are considering about opening an OTB or a methadone clinic in the township of Messina. There were 3 proposals, one from St. Joseph's, one from the county, and another one from the St. Lawrence Health Systems. And all 3 of them did their presentation. Now it'll be up to the legislative body to decide if in fact they want to go ahead and choose one of these providers. There is a methadone clinic in Watertown, and there is one in Plattsburgh. So we're roughly about, Messina is roughly 90 miles from each one. So what we're having is people that are addicted to opiates or heroin. A methadone clinic would provide some stability. I know there's a lot of pushback that people say, well, why are you giving drugs to drug addicts? Basically, opioids change the brain chemistry, and the likelihood that people will get off of that type of addiction is right around 6%. So methadone has been around for 20 some years and has been a proven methodology for people to operate normal lives, getting their treatment early in the morning, going to work, maintaining their families, getting their children off to school. So it's a bit of a controversy. It's something that we looked at as the community. I'm the legislator liaison to the Community Services Board. It's something that we've been discussing, and we've had a presentation from Credo in Watertown. There's a lot of pitfalls to it. You have to have security, and it's federally regulated. So there's still unknowns that we're actually researching. I think I don't know if your town has been approached by Mayor Skelly on the sales tax. I can comment on that. I believe that the majority opinion is that we'd like to hold the towns to the levels that at least what they had before. We're not interested in taking money away from the towns. It is the same wallet. We think that probably what the best and most fair approach would be to wait till the census is done and make a determination between census and our population and assessed value that the city of Augsburg should participate in the same formula as the towns and the villages. Mayor Skelly is doing his best to make himself look like a savior. It's a false. Well, it's a falsehood. So the city of Augsburg's population has been shrinking. If you just compare them to Potsdam, the biggest drivers are sales tax, our car dealerships, lumber yards, and restaurants. And you just take the example of Canton and Potsdam, how much more they have than Augsburg and what Augsburg had in the past. So we'll see how that shakes out. I'm glad that the census time period has been extended. I think we'll get a more accurate count. We're still behind. I think 50 or 60% is all that's been reported. As many times as I've been contacted, I don't know how that happens. So there's been a lot of talk about the fund balance and how excessive our fund balance is. That is not true. Our fund balance is about 11.6% of our appropriations. The recommendation from the state comptroller is to have 15 or 16%, basically about 2 months worth of the money that you need to get by. I think the average for the towns and villages combined is almost 50%, somewhere between 30 and 50%. Some villages or towns actually have 100% of what they're raising in taxes, and their citizens need to know that. So even though, we've been talking about the 31 million, there's about 21 million of it that's, if we wanted to have a big party, that's what we could spend, which we wouldn't do that. But we're still being frugal and very cautious. We're expecting that sales tax will be down significantly this year. And so there's a lot of unknowns. The state's looking for a bailout from the federal government. Don't think it's going to happen. And so that what was a $8 billion deficit, or was it 6 or 8? I don't know. $4 billion of it was on the Medicaid side of things. So that will continue to be exacerbated by this COVID-19. So the county has had its hands full with the COVID response. Our public health has done an extraordinary job limiting and tracing. Tracing is not a fun thing to do. People really are not receptive about who you've been hanging out with, what you've been doing, and who you've seen. So they take some nasty phone calls and nasty replies. So they've done a great job. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them. That's the basis of my report.
I have a question, Kevin, on the meth program. Can you elaborate a little bit? What does that look like? Is that a residential program, or is it just an outpatient program? And if so, what is the capacity for service?
So the methadone clinic is basically, it's a liquid pump where people would come in and they would get a daily dose. It's 6 days a week. And then on the 7th day, on Saturday, they would be given a dosage to take home. And the thing with methadone is it's unlikely that people will give their dosage away, and it'll be individually quantified for what they'll be received based on their history and their needs. Unlikely that they would give it away because by 24 hours, they're going to be in a fetal position. So what we're experiencing is the people on Suboxone, which the county clinic and the other clinics treat people with Suboxone, is that they're trading it in for heroin. So the quantity or the quality of the heroin, how much fentanyl it's been cut with, is a really unknown. And then plus you're dealing with the criminal element. So it is providing, a substance for people that are addicted to drugs, but in a medical situation. So it would be individual screening and counseling. And so the competition between the 3 proposals, the county, St. Joseph's, and St. Lawrence Health Systems, is who would be able to provide the best services. What's the extent of what they have to offer, because it's not simply coming in and being a dispensary. I mean, the ultimate function is that, but there's, like anything else, people take drugs for various reasons, mental stress, whatever, So it would be a very secure environment because of the methadone itself. So there's still like a lot more answers to go, but that's what it would be. The initial startup, we think that they probably would be anywhere from 30 to 80 recipients in the first year, and it would probably grow. We know that we have people from St. Lawrence County that go as far as New York City to get their methadone. So we don't know how many people from St. Lawrence County are actually going to Watertown or to Plattsburgh. And, you know, they can be holding real jobs and trying to function. So we had a presentation from a Dr. Updike who runs a clinic near Buffalo, and they have 1,000 clients. So it was his presentation that convinced me that this is something that was needed. So.
And is there an aftercare treatment program to fight the addiction? Is that part of the extension of this program?
It can be a part of it. I mean, I think they, like St. Lawrence Health Systems has a detox, and St. Joseph's have been in the addiction business for 49 years. So and all three entities have different services that they can offer. So certainly if they have somebody that wants to get off, I think with the heroin even, I think there's a detoxification part of it before you go on to the methadone. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not really sure about that. But for those that want to quit, those services are available. Not to say that it's impossible. I attended a thing at Madrid Waddington back in, I think it was in 2018, and they had a panel of, the first part of it was seaway prevention that was talking about vaping and kids in school and how deceptive were and the numerous tools and flavors that they had available to them. And then the second part of it was about opioid addiction. And so there were addicts up there, former inmates and police officers and detectives and counselors. And the thing that really struck me was a man from Messina that started out just having a beer underneath the bleachers and smoking some weed with his friends. And they said, hey, let's try this. And he became addicted. And next thing you know, he's stealing from his parents. He had been clean for 14 years at the time. And then he had a breakup with his wife or his girlfriend. And he said, then if I make it to November, I'll be clean again for 2 years. So the fact that he was actually, you know, drug-free for 14 years and then relapse. So relapse is a big part of it. So it was pretty striking. 14 years is a long time, and then to get back on it and hoping that he would make it to November, that he'd be clean for 2 years. So constant struggle, I believe.
It certainly is a brain addiction.
Yeah.
Board members, do you have any questions for Kevin?
Okay, well, thank you.
Kevin, hang on a minute.
Okay, all right.
I just got a chat question from James Blackburn. He is a resident of the town. Would you entertain a question from him?
Sure, hopefully I could answer it. Yep.
Okay, James, would you like to pose your question?
Yes, Mr. Akers, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
I was just wondering, you're considering 3 different agencies for this methadone clinic. Is it possible that all 3 of those agencies could work together to provide the services for this methadone clinic while at the same time using their specialties in conjunction with each other for the benefit of the citizens of our county?
There is collaboration now. I mean, some of the services that they offer do overlap. I think basically the licensing of a methadone clinic requires federal intervention. So I think, Mr. Blackburn, it would be unlikely that a license would be provided for all 3 entities to, say, operate this clinic. From just the mechanical part of it, I think it's fairly straightforward. I mean, I don't want to diminish it as a straight dispensary, but that is indeed the function. The person comes up, they'll be behind a security glass. They'll be either security cameras or or I'm not even sure if there have to be armed guards, but that's part of the things that we're trying to find out. And they would be handed to underneath the glass their mixture, and they would have to swallow it right there on the spot, open up their mouth and show that they've swallowed the liquid. So I think it'll be a certain few individuals that will be responsible for the dispensary, and I think there'll be significant federal background checks on the individuals. I know that St. Lawrence Health Systems is going to provide, in their proposal, is going to provide a medical director. But there are all kinds of things. One of the things that St. Lawrence Health Systems and the county actually participate is in pregnant mothers, that the babies are born with drug toxicology in there. So
Right.
They aren't really working together on that, but they both are on that. And I think so far this year, we've had 19 babies it's born with, toxic drugs in their system. And essentially in what the doctor that I asked about, it says that after 3 or 4 days, the babies, settle down and there's not like there's a yearning, at least that no long-term yearning for drugs to be in their system. Like it hasn't flipped their brains from a day to day, I got to have this type thing. So, but it's pretty sad. I think like I said, I think there's 19. So it's a challenge. And then it all impacts our foster care. We're up around 300 individuals, I think 340 kids in foster care, which is normally we have 100 and something. So those are primarily drug related. Talking to an individual today whose wife is a teacher, they're making a lot more calls with kids with domestic abuse. So it's kids being home, not in the school environment. So pretty sad.
There's a lot of needs in our county. Okay.
I got
board
a question.
Oh.
I have a question for Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin, what did you do to the county budget with regard to highway with 20% cut for CHIPS, Pave New York, and the emergency winter maintenance monies?
Okay, so we just got it Monday night. I haven't had a chance to go through it in depth. I think we're going to be all right. They have a significant fund balance. We're actually taking $500,000 out of their fund balance, and there'll be monies actually that'll be designated out of their highway fund for equipment. We did an expenditure back in 2016, several $1 million to update the trucks and some other needed equipment at the highway. So that payment will be done by 2026, and we're in good shape to have the money on hand to do that funding for that. They have done a tremendous amount of work this summer with the COVID. It's really surprising, the projects that they've gotten done. Don Chambers is a real star for us. So I think that'll be up to our legislators. Hopefully that the state will prioritize the CHIPS money in our legislators, Senate and Assembly, and get the governor to go along with it. I know we're going to be short, but I think that's one area we can't scrimp on.
So you are planning to spend as much in highway in 21 as you did this year?
I'd have to look at that. Yeah, that wasn't part of the presentation by Ruth Doyle, the county administrator, but I can look that up. I'll get back to you on that, Jim. I'll look at the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Rather than take care of it right now. I have the budget here in front of me, but I don't want to take everybody's time.
That's fine.
I'll look into that for you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other board member have a question of Kevin? All right. Well, Kevin, you are more than welcome to stay with us for the rest of our meeting, as always, but
Yep.
understand if you have other things to do. I appreciate your attending.
No, I'm going to stick around. I'll take my video off, but I'll stick around.
Okay. All
Thank
right. Thank you, Kevin. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. The special meeting of September 2nd, a regular meeting of September 10th, special meeting, which was a budget meeting, September 23rd. So I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
So moved. Oh,
So
second.
moved.
Oh, okay. Not sure who made the motion. One. All
Bob did.
right, a motion by Bob Washer. Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Danahy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Carried. Supervisors report. Mr. Gray. Hi, John.
Okay, so, good evening. So if we start with a summary page of fund balances, we can see the general fund A has increased the fund, and remember, we're only 75% through the year, so 9 months out of 12. General fund A has increased the fund balance so far by $62,000, which brings the total fund balance at this point to $286,000. Town outside fund B has increased the fund balance by $119,672. That brings the fund balance to $229,000. RBEG has had no activity. Miscellaneous special revenue has had no activity. Townwide highway, the DA fund, has increased the fund balance by $141,514. So that fund balance sits at $262,575 as of right now. Part Town Highway Fund DB, the fund balance has increased by $131,978. Total fund balance right now, $394,604. Special Fire, no change in the fund balance. It's had revenue in and money out. Special Lighting has had an increase in fund balance of $1,179. That fund balance is at $15,591. And the Joint Activity Fund has had no change in fund balance this year. If you go to the detail pages, you can see that in Fund A, total revenue is at $548,000 out of a budgeted revenue of $712,000, so we're about 76.9% of the budget, which is normal if we're 9 months through the year. Going down through appropriations, I'll skip to the third page of this section. In total appropriations are $486,257 to date, and the budget for the year is $712,766. So we've actually spent 68% of the budget. And I went through these in greater detail last month, so I won't do that unless there are questions this month. The next fund, excuse me. Is the B outside town. Our revenues, have $272,000, which is about 72% of the $377,000 budget. Expenditures, we spent $152,000 to date. That's about 40% of our budget so far. And that's why we have a surplus of $119,000 there. Townwide highway, we had total revenues of $731,000. We had budgeted $728,000, so we're a little bit ahead of budget there. Expenditure-wise, we have total expenditures of $590,000, which is 81% of the budget. Parktown Highway, we have revenue of $551,000. That's 74% of what we have budgeted. And the expenditures are $419,000, which is 56.6% of the budget. So we have a surplus there to date of $132,000. Special Fire, revenue of $284,328, expenditures of $284,328. Special Lighting, revenues of $4,007, expenditures so far of $2,829. So we've increased the fund balance by $1,178. As I mentioned before, no activity in the Joint Activity Fund. If you go to the very last page of the report, you can see the cash balances at the end of September compared to last month and compared to the previous year. So in general fund cash, we have $272,000 at the end of September. That's up $36,000 from last year and up about $34,000 from September 30th of a year ago. In Fund B, we have $233,000 of cash. We had $258,000 last month, and a year ago we had $327,462. RBEG, we have $76,000 in cash, similar to what it was last month, and a year ago we had $70,000 in that fund. Cemetery Fund, $2,500. It's been consistent for all three periods here. DA and DB, we have $682,000. we had 766,000 a month ago. And at this time last year, we had 443,000. Special fire, special lighting, 16,400. That's approximately the same as it was a year ago. Revolving loan fund, 46,913. It was 46,911 last month, and a year ago was 46,904. Joint activity, 8,421, which is the same as the prior month. But a year ago, we had $19,361 in that fund. And then trust and agency, we have 25,000 currently. We had 42,000 last month, and a year ago, we had 26,000. So total cash townwide, 1,364,000 compared to 1,455,000 last month, and compared to 1,214,000 a year ago. Any questions? I'm happy to try to answer them.
I would just like to add on to my report that on October 5th and October 6th, we received additional revenue in our revenue account of $118,366.93. That's broken down. And what's interesting with this deposit is it's not clear what the money, where it came from. Whereas in the past, our CHIPS money is clearly labeled. So I'm going to give it another 2 days to see. I did call the contact that we have for those funds, and I'm waiting to hear back. But hopefully it's the highway reimbursement money. So that was a nice surprise when I opened that up. So we'll be able to see that in next month's report. But I will inform the board once we know exactly what those two deposits were. One was for $43,977.38, and the other one was $74,389.55. So we're thinking it's the highway reimbursement, but we want to make sure. Okay, does anybody else have any questions regarding the financial report? Okay, very good. Correspondence. We received notice from the St. Lawrence County Real Property Tax Service Agency, Bruce Green, regarding the adoption of the county equalization rate, and we are listed at 90% equalization rate. So I'd like to go on record for that. The next item is the Pirates Hydroelectric Project. There were virtual meetings on the plan, as we know that this started last year, about the flow assessment study plan. So that is also available to the public if they're interested. So that's moving forward.
I participated in that workshop or
Oh,
webinar.
in the last virtual meeting, Bob?
Yep, and just to report on that, the DEC has some issues with the flow rate, and they did find some interesting species all the way up to Pirates, including an Atlantic eel, and that really caught their attention. So I think there's gonna be a lot more discussion about that.
Well, thank you for participating in that. And I do have the actual summary of everybody's comments as well. All right, the next item is a letter in support of funding for the Canton Chamber of Commerce. And this came from Edith Frazier. She's a Canton resident and a board member of the Canton Chamber of Commerce. It's a lengthy email, but overall it's in support of the Canton Chamber of Commerce. So that'll be on file as well. Okay, Audit Committee. That would be Bob and Tim.
Jump in. Bob went through a number of the funds yesterday, and I finished up this morning. I did email out the amounts, but for the record, A fund, $34,320.46. B fund, $4,000 $479.61. DA, $7,951.27. DB, $115,049.55. So there goes some of that fund balance right there. Special lighting, $299.99. No activity in special fire. Trust and agency, $15,751.15.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve expenditures.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Tim Danahy, seconded by Karen Blackbird. Any further questions or comments?
Tim saying fund balance just got my attention, and it reminds me, I meant to say this earlier. I think we use the term fund balance in a couple of different ways, and I think it could end up being confusing for folks. So I think that in the supervisor's report or the bookkeeping report, we should really refer to that as the account balances. All right, so the account balances would be the in real time, what's going on month to month. And let's reserve the use of fund balance terminology for actual year-end fund balances so that it's not misleading to the public who really doesn't understand those nuances. Because as Kevin mentioned, he was speaking in terms of fund balances, and I'm sure the numbers he used weren't numbers from the middle of the year, but year-end numbers. And I think fund balance terminology should be reserved for year-end numbers as opposed to the middle of the year.
Okay.
If I could just comment, and Bob's correct. So, and that's the thing is when you talk to the public about fund balance or even talk among legislators. So the 21 million that I referred to as fund balance tonight is unrestricted. There's no purpose for it. Where a total fund balance of 31 million would include highway, money set aside for workers' comp, solid waste fund, and stuff like that. All that figure of the 31 million. So basically, when legislators talk, well, we have this exorbitant fund balance, what we really need to refer to is actually the 21 million that's not actually obligated in the legislative body sense. That's what we would have if we were going to get into a venture that was going to cost us money that we had not planned for. For Jim Smith, yeah, we're going to be about $7 million less in revenue is what's projected for the highway. So there's two birds in one stone. Thank you, Bob.
Yep, thanks, Kevin.
Okay. So we're good to go on that. Department reports. Okay, let's see. Mark Rude, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Mark Rude is our foreman at the highway department, and he's going to give a report about what's been going on. Mark, can you?
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
Well, everything has been going very well. We are doing what we always do at this time of year, preparing for winter, buttoning up a few small jobs, and preparing trucks for the plowing season. We're in good shape. We have 6 trucks pretty much ready to do what they need to do in the winter, and 1 in the process. So things are looking good.
And you're also increasing the sand allocation?
Yeah, but we decided to put up a little bit more sand. We finished up with that Monday, and that was the extent of the pile. We just decided to add a little more to it to make sure.
Okay. Do any board members have any questions of Mark? All right. Well, thank you, Mark.
Not so much a question. I just wanted to thank Mark, who I go way back with Mark. We graduated from high school together. But Mark, thanks for stepping in here in the interim.
You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mark. How about Linda Casserly? Hello.
Hello, hello. Any questions on my report?
Can you give us a few highlights, please?
Oh, I can give you a lot of highlights on applying for that grant for the historic marker for the town hall. It was challenging, and I've learned a lot about applying for those, and I'm glad Kevin is still on, because the grant today got moved to now to be the next level of being approved. So I really have my fingers crossed. And Connie Molnar, who has helped give me some information, wants to know how many more we're going to put up in the town, in the village. So Kevin, the next markers were going to go up by the jail site and the courthouse. So we can do one, we can actually do 5 a year, but after going through a month of this grant process, I'll be doing 1 a year till I feel really more proficient in getting them okay. There's a lot of primary documents I have to do and find photos, thanks to Dennis Barr, who did all our photos in the collection. And the people in the Pomeroy Foundation are incredible people to work for. They gave me an extension of 3 days because you can only upload so many. And I had 90 photos and articles and diaries, and it goofed up uploading them. So I had to spend 2 more days and get them down to where the upload part of the program would take them. And Christy at Pomeroy helped me tremendously. And then you saw my report about Mrs. Barbara Kelly coming in. And I don't know if you know the Kelly family, but they're out by Harts Falls. And she and her husband donated that land to Harts Falls. So meeting her that day is what makes my office work. And I will be interviewing her next week. So, and Frank White continues to come up, everybody. He's 102. He will not ride that chairlift. He's slow and constantly cleaning out the history that he thinks should be in the collection. So I never get tired of him coming up. But he did say the handicap ramp is too slow. So he walks up 102, drives every day, comes up once a week. So my office is still real busy. I'd love to bring Rennis Bissonnette back, but she's going to be 89 and just afraid of bringing her in. And she is too. But I miss her and the other volunteers I've had. So anything on the questions for me?
Grants for that jail, Linda, that county jail.
Oh yeah, you're going to get a marker over there, Kevin. That's one of my prize hopes for it someday. The sheriff's house.
The Chairman Lightfoot in his opening remarks, I think it was the year before, about doing something with that damn jail.
That's right.
So not a word has been addressed. I think it's kind of out of our focus, but maybe you can help us refocus.
The matron's house, the sheriff's house, especially.
Yep.
That has lots of room in it. And half of the town and village collection is in our basement. So I will revisit that.
Okay.
I'll
All
talk,
right.
I'll talk to Bruce Doyle. Okay, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
I'm going to be on. I'm just shutting my face off because I'm making dinner. I
Oh,
like
We're all jealous. Okay.
Zoom meetings. I don't know what I will do without Zoom meetings. I get so much done.
Okay. It's what you're drinking in that coffee cup.
This is water, Marianne.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'm here.
Heidi.
Ups, what I do.
Oh, you just need to mute Linda.
I know I did something. I hit the down button.
Okay. You're good, Linda. All right. Heidi.
Okay, so September was pretty busy in here for us. For school taxes, we collected over $8 million. And then in hunting, we did over 16,000, which is the D said this was like the busiest month that we've had in a long time. So, I mean, it's been pretty busy in here, and everything else besides that is still coming in pretty steady.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions of Heidi? Just for the record, Heidi Smith is our deputy clerk. Okay, thank you, Heidi. Is that you, Lee, down there? Let's see. Lee?
I'm here.
Hi.
Hello. I guess I don't have a lot to update. We're continuing to work on the Brownfield Opportunity Area program. We have received a final copy of the market and housing analysis, which if you haven't received a copy, we can get it to you. I think I maybe put a link or send it along with my report, actually. A lot of interesting stuff in there that we have established a housing subcommittee, and we're going to be focusing on some things. Also, some information about that in my report. The Oswegatchie Local Waterfront Revitalization Project is moving along. We have a boundary, draft boundary established, so we're hoping to finalize that. Dairy Queen is open. And as of today, they submitted their first round of job documentation, which is one of the loan is, or the, excuse me, the grant is based on the creation of jobs. And I was working with the state today and provided her with the paperwork that we've gotten from Dairy Queen, and she indicated to me that they have exceeded the number of jobs that were required for that grant. They still have a little bit of money to draw down, so that's good. I've also met with the owners, and they are exceeding their projections, so all is well there after a slight delay in the opening, but all is well. Another CDBG project, community development block grant project that we have is the Canton Housing Authority. They had put out their project to improve some elevators in one of their high rises on Riverside Drive, and they got a bid back, and I am not certain if they approved the contract or not yet, but it was expected that would happen, and so that project should be moving forward very soon as well. There were some music on Main. Events put together on Thursdays throughout September by Brooke Rouse of Grass River Outfitters, and those were very successful, I would say, and a lot of people were milling about downtown on Thursdays and enjoying the music and shopping and eating. And Haley Hodge at Luna has continued that both last week and this week, doing that at her place. So those are an exciting sort of trial events that hopefully we can do a little more of that kind of thing next summer on a regular basis. What else is going on?
Lee, excuse me, can you just report on the recovery application, the RBAG?
How many? We haven't, still, we have not received any completed applications. We probably have sent out, I may have sent out one more since last month. It's, I think, less than 10 that we've sent out in total, 8 or 9 maybe. So I'm not sure if some of the feedback I've gotten is that they just decided they didn't need it. So they didn't need to take on more loan. I know a lot of businesses have accessed some of the federal programs through the SBA that have been available. So I'm not certain why we have not had the follow through, but I suppose in a way that's good because it wasn't needed. But we have not yet allocated any of those funds. I was saying the other day that I think it's important to, I think the COVID's going to be with us for a while, and the aftermath and ripple effects of it. So, you know, I think that even though the businesses may be okay now, I think going into 2021, there may become more need, you know, after some of these initial programs from the federal government are exhausted and they go through the funds, there may still be a need. So I think it's okay that we keep it open and available and see what happens, and just be flexible about making the availability there for the businesses.
Okay. Board members, any questions of Lee? All right, thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Cindy, are you, there
Okay.
she is. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Well, just after I got done with my report, I found out that the bar has to meet October 21st for a couple of corrections to the roll. Apparently, there were people that got star exemptions, basic star exemptions, and they had moved out of state and they're not living in the home. So then I found out that the state could take care of this. So 6 of them are going off to the state. They're gonna go back after the people and collect the money. And there's one correction, and the bar has to meet October 21st, and that's at 4:30. Otherwise, just still going out there, data collecting, collecting the permits, and that's about it. I picked up the sales at the county today, and wow, they're still coming in. So we're busy, and which is good. So
Okay. Anyone have questions of our assessor, Brand? All right, thank you, Cindy.
okay.
Okay, our code enforcement officer, I don't believe he's on. He wasn't able to be here. All right. Did I miss anyone? Oh, Justice Morgan, I see you're here.
Mark is here also, yep, for court.
Yep, Judge Morgan,
Good evening.
good evening.
Not too much to report. We're still holding court regularly. Still having an issue with people not showing up for court. And thus, we're going through a lot of envelopes, sending letters out to people, reminding them that they need to come to court. And that's actually getting to be kind of a semi-serious situation there as far as the amount of envelopes that we have. We did complete the JCAP request today, and I think it's somewhere around $12,000 or $13,000 for work on the building and some other things for the court. So that's about it.
Okay, Mark, did you want to add anything?
No, I think we're all set.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Justice Morgan? All right, I think that's it. So I need a motion to accept our department reports.
So moved.
Motion by Bob Washoe. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Karen Blackford. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, carried. Committee reports. I think I'll start. The Economic Development Consortium met yesterday, and as you know, they're the principals that are that have been very instrumental in the Economic Development Office. We had a very good meeting. There was quite a few things that we spoke about. One of the biggest items was, you know, we have a Canton Community Action Plan that was developed almost 5 years ago. And the Economic Development Steering Committee will be reviewing that and discussing whether there's a need to redo the Canton Community Action Plan when we just went through a few years of developing a comprehensive plan. So we look forward to see what their recommendations are. Rensselaer Falls, Mayor Hammond has joined us at the table as well. So that's a new item. I've been the facilitator of that group for 2 years, starting in 2021. That'll go back to Mayor Dalton to facilitate the meetings. And, you know, we tried to meet quarterly, but it didn't really work out because of COVID this year. So it's a good group, and we have Canton Central, Village of Canton, Village of Rensselaer Falls, the Town of Canton, St. Lawrence Health Systems, United Helpers, SUNY Canton, and St. Lawrence University, all at the table. So it's a very good group, and we appreciate what they do for all of us. So that was yesterday's meeting. Okay, other committee reports.
Well, the Highway Committee had a very busy month or so. We're going to talk about those developments a little later in the meeting. But I just wanted to, while Mark is still on, if he's still on, thank him for all the great work, and it's been great communicating with him and working on the DANK project with him, the mapping project, and yeah, thank you, Mark.
I have an update from the Communications and Technology Committee. The committee has been working to find solutions for technology to have into place when we return to in-person meetings, so the town and village can continue to provide the opportunity for community members and others to connect virtually to meetings. The committee is requesting to use up to $750 to put towards the purchase of an Owl's Head meeting camera. And this is in conjunction with a similar request that will be made by the Village Communications and Technology Committee members. And this camera will be put in the meeting room and has an ability to, as you can imagine, an Owl's Head, rotate 360 degrees and capture the room during a meeting. And it also has capabilities of picking up sound and visual and audio, so that anybody connecting to the meeting can be there virtually.
Okay.
So it will be no more than $750 that we'll be putting toward the purchase of that camera.
Great.
Do you want to add that to the agenda, Mary Ann, or do you want to discuss that now? Because
is it an expenditure we need to approve?
Well, we're looking for approval up to $750 for the town, and the village is going to be doing the same thing at their meeting next month. And the way the executive orders have been shaking out from the state, just the last 2 months, for example, the executive orders have been coming down about, this last one was November 3rd. Before that, it was maybe October 2nd. That's within a week of our meetings of announcing whether or not we can even legally have these Zoom meetings any longer. So we need to be prepared for when those executive orders change, and this is not even an option anymore. But the committee is committed to making sure that our meetings, whether in person or not, are still made available to people in their homes. So this is equipment that we've researched, and we've gotten advice from local institutions about it. And the idea is that we would purchase it, we would try it on site to make sure it works, because as we know, the municipal building itself has some challenges with regard to Wi-Fi. So we would have a 30-day window to do some test meetings on it, see how work out the bugs, see if it's the unit for us, and go from there.
Okay, well, why don't I add it to under new business as an action item?
Fine.
Okay, great. All right, other committees.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Bob.
Recreation, as you know, we're got a couple major things going on. Ice is going in at the pavilion. The compressors have been started up. The company that checks them annually has been in there a couple times. There was an issue with one of them, kind of with some fluid levels, but I understand they've got it in better shape now. So Compressors are running, floor is cold, ice is going in. They anticipate if things go on schedule, the ice could be mostly in sometime towards the end of next week. We had another good call with our our kind of startup participants of Canton Minor Hockey and St. Lawrence Figure Skating last night. Really productive call to go review our protocols and requirements and all that. Some good feedback from them too, and some good ideas about how we can even improve on our plan in terms of the traffic flow in the building. Bearing in mind, we had an initial idea to kind of use the Zamboni door down there as an exit, but the more we thought about that, the more concerned we are with actual outdoor traffic and road traffic there. So we're looking at ways where we can kind of use those side doors that are closer to the front of the building as exits, which still lets us use the parking lot, and it's safer all around for that. So that seems to be going well. In terms of the general recreation program, we are continuing to work to get some information together. We're working through some of the existing rec budget isn't really in a form that's easily digestible. This came up at our meeting on Monday night. I think Jim brought it up. We're trying to work through some numbers and kind of break that down historically about, what exactly does it cost to run Taylor Park for the summer? What exactly does it cost to run the pavilion? What exactly does it cost to run the other programs? So it's taken a little more time than we would like to kind of sort through that in the budget. But once we get that done, we are going to be ready full steam ahead for to gather board and community input on where we want to take this thing. Just really two basic questions. What are you getting out of the recreation program now and as it's existed in recent years? But more importantly, what do we want it to be for our whole community going forward?
Okay. I'm going to pipe in here the waiver form. Eric, hello, Eric. I'm gonna ask you too. We got a copy of a waiver form from the village, and it was sent to Eric and sent to the board. And we need to decide if it should be a joint form, if there should be two separate forms, or just a village form. So A, I didn't know if the committee had a recommendation, and B, Eric also has an opinion about that. But it's more on us what we want to do. So Eric, is that accurate of what you had sent us?
Yeah, Marianne, legally it doesn't really matter. I just think probably as a practical matter, it makes more sense, be a heck of a lot easier if it's a joint waiver. I just think that would be more easier to get it filled out and to make sure everyone's covered.
That's the committee's position, and if Eric says it's good, then I see no reason. I should say we also, from last night, the waiver is still, we're intending that to be a paper form, obviously, that we'll have on record. In terms of the check-in forms, both St. Lawrence Figure Skating and Canton Minor Hockey had some good feedback. Some of them have already seen these used in other places about doing electronic forms that have the same questions that we kind of had on our draft checklist form. Have you felt unwell? Do you have a test pending for other reasons? Do you have reason to believe there's exposure? They both are going to be able to launch that electronically, simple Google form, and there'll be a populated spreadsheet record for every session they have, and should be much easier to handle and environmentally friendly and accessible for all that. So that was a good development to see from our partners there.
Okay, so Eric, if you would get back to Jerry regarding that. I don't know what it's going to take to make it a joint form. I can't imagine it's going to take too much. And then, they can move forward with that.
No, it was in pretty good shape, Mary, and I'll work with him. I'll give him a shout in the morning and make sure that we can coordinate and get that done.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other committee reports? Okay. The next item on the agenda is old business. Considered standard workday resolution. We spoke about this last month. We need a resolution to move forward and have it on record about the standard workday, and this has to do with New York State retirement credits purposes. So I'll just read the last. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Canton hereby officially determines that the town clerk position and non-contract positions as per policy are 7 hours per day. The highway superintendent position and highway contract positions are 8 hours per day. The elected town board members and town justices are 6 hours a day. And again, this is to establish the service credit in comparison to the hours. So I need a motion, unless there's any further discussion or questions regarding this resolution. I need a motion to approve this resolution.
Just one question, Marianne. The 6 hours, that's the state minimum, correct?
That is the minimum number of hours to be established, yes, according to the state.
I make a motion to accept the resolution.
Motion by Bob Washoe. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Karen Blackburn. Any further questions or concerns? Okay.
Just to build on Bob's comment, just for the sake of clarity for anybody that's not familiar with it, it's used as a divisor in the retirement system's credit. We are not saying that, you know, all elected officials work 6 hours every day, even though some of us do sometimes.
Okay.
And it's a little bit confusing to me because is the 6 hours that they're saying that is a minimum, was that just established recently, or has that been the state minimum for a period of time?
That's been the state minimum
for a long time. And so I have been working with the retirement system with regard to this. And I've had 28 years in government, all of that in elected positions at no more than $5,200 in pay. But in those 28 years, they give me credit for 14. What I don't understand is I'm getting 50% credit. And it was always my assumption, and I was always told that it was based on the salary that you were receiving, that to give you more than what I was receiving wouldn't make sense, because I would be working for far less than minimum wage. And so that's why it's a little bit confusing to me. I mean, if we're saying it's supposed to be 6 hours, 6 hours a day, that's 30-hour week. Now, Susan has asked me to log my hours for this purpose, and I don't know why. Because when I show her that log, I'm going to show her that I am nowhere near 6 hours per day. I mean, some days I've got 15 minutes. Some days I have nothing. Some days, like today, it's probably going to be that I've spent 5 or 6 hours with meeting prep and with the meeting, that I'd be doing that. So I'm lost on why they consider it to be a minimum of 6 hours.
Jim, I'd be happy to add more to your plate if you're feeling like you have more input to offer.
Well, what I'm saying is that, I think I'm being compensated fairly for the time I'm putting in, but how can they call $5,000 a year a 6-hour day every day? It just, the numbers just don't, they don't make sense to me. I can understand why I only have 14 years credit in the retirement system, because I don't spend anywhere near a full day in this job.
So I'm gonna have, Susan is piped into the meeting, so I'm gonna have her speak to it. And for the public's sake, anytime an elected official gets elected, we have to track 3 months of time. They have to track it, and then we have to submit it to a certain formula, and then we have to do a separate standard day resolution to approve it. So it's quite the system. And Susan, did you want to add anything? Not sure if she's still on.
I'll jump in.
It is what we have to do, and it is the state formula.
Yeah, I'll jump in because I was very confused by this at first too. And I think what the state is doing is they're translating the hours into days.
Mhm.
And so the purpose of this
For credit.
resolution is to, right, they use, I don't know why they just can't submit days, but the state wants the hours,
Mhm.
and then they're going to translate hours into days. And that's why they need these divisors, right? So they're going to divide, Jim Smith's hours are going to get divided by 6. And if Jim Smith worked 45 hours in a given, or 60 hours in a given month, then he has 10 days worth of credit.
Right.
In terms of that. So it's for divisor purposes. It's very confusing and misleading.
Yeah, it's not as straightforward as expecting that you're working a 6-hour day. They take that records of activity, and that becomes, the hours under that become part of the formula. And based on your standard work day, that's how they figure each month what they're going to give you for credit. They have to have some kind of base apparently to figure it, but I don't quite understand it all either, but it's not as basic as you get 6 hours credit, whatever.
Well, and that's why the journal is still required,
Yes.
because that's what differentiates councilperson A from councilperson B,
Right.
ultimately.
Yes.
That
Okay.
helps.
You can also,
That helps.
I'm sorry, you can also choose not to participate. I don't participate, and actually very few legislators participate. I think we have Nicole Terminelli and Tony Arquette are the only ones that I am aware of that are doing a journal log. But, and you're vested after 10 years. I have chosen not to participate. So I think you have that option also.
Okay. So I believe we did get a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, carried.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is to discuss the draft town credit policy, credit card policy. So at the last meeting, I was charged with ordering a credit card. The credit card has been ordered and received, and it's listed as a municipal business town of Canton credit card. And so now we need to have a written policy on usage of the card. You were sent a policy and procedure draft, and it is just a draft to start discussion on how you would like this to be carried out. So Jim and I are the policy committee. So Jim, would you like to speak to this first?
Yeah, I'll speak to it. And as I said, I told you to send it because I'm sure everybody was going to weigh in on it. But we've had this discussion, Mary Ann, and there is one item in that policy that I do not agree with, and that is the one where employees can take that credit card with them on to a conference or something and use it for meals and whatever. Having a credit card for the town, to me, it's a new thing, and so I would feel more comfortable if with the one credit card it is kept in the supervisor's office and it is used for basically major purchases that in the past employees did and put it on personal credit cards, and then we reimbursed. That's the thing that we're trying to avoid. If someone goes to a conference and they eat lunch and they get a receipt for that lunch and bring it back, I don't have a problem with reimbursing them for that meal. What I don't like to see is a employee have to put $1,000 or $2,000 item on their credit card that we found that if we bought it from a particular vendor online or whatever, and it required a credit card purchase, that's the way it was being done. And so until we have a little bit of track record with it, my preference would be that it would only be for major purchases, and that it is in the supervisor's office, and those purchases actually get done by the supervisor with the credit card once the employee has explained to you what they're after and you agree with it. Other than that, I'm good with the policy.
I agree with Jim's amendment.
Yep, completely agree. That's what kind of drove this at first, is there's, pieces of equipment that people need and have certain vendors that can provide them at certain prices. And just like anybody else, they can go on Amazon and see it for half the price, and let's order it from Amazon. Yeah, the town's made it this far without everybody having town credit cards in their pockets when traveling, back when people traveled. We can make it a little ways further, so the credit card stays in the supervisor's office while we get this going.
I agree.
Okay, so I will amend the procedure part and send that to the board. And then the next thing we need to do as well is develop a travel policy and expenditures for especially multi-day conferences. So we'll work on that as well.
Well, we probably have some time to do that. Hopefully. I mean, well, hopefully not.
And I think the goal too is, I think it's important for everyone to know that employee purchases, we want to decrease the amount of purchases employees make on their own as far as personal, and then expect reimbursement. We really kind of want to get away from that as much as possible. So I will let the employees know as well that we have this credit card and what their needs are, that they need to come to me. So I will upgrade that. Okay, thank you. New business. Consider and discuss overriding New York State tax cap. We've had a couple budget meetings. Everybody's worked really hard. Eric, could you just speak to the tax cap law that you sent us? This is just for discussion purposes only, on your the legislative intent for that, and
Yeah,
what the process would be.
Yeah, so in order to exceed the tax cap, you have to adopt a local law. And the draft of that law is something that I've sent so that you can consider it. The only thing I would urge is, because the local law needs to be adopted just like a local law, you go through the same procedure as any other local law. You have to have the public hearing, and you have to adopt it and then file it with the Department of State. You need to follow the same time frames, giving notice of the public hearing, et cetera, having it in final form. If you think you're getting close to the tax cap, it makes sense to adopt the local law earlier rather than later, so that you don't miss any critical deadlines. So I'm not sure where, how you're feeling with regard to the budget process, but if you think you're going to exceed the tax cap, even if you're not sure, if it's looking like it might be close, I would urge adopting it sooner rather than later.
Board members, what do you think?
I think it's prudent to go through the process. I just want to be explicitly clear with everyone on the call. including the media members, that we, at the moment, our working budget is within the tax cap. We are not intending to need to override it, but taking this action just gives us that option if unforeseen circumstances between now and final passage of the budget forces us into something. Did I say that correctly, Marianne?
Yes.
Okay. So at the moment, we are not, this is, whatever action we take tonight is not passing any kind of tax rate that's gonna, we're a long ways from doing that at the moment. Again, we're not there. Hopefully we won't get there, but it's prudent. And we've done this in recent years too, gone through the steps so that we keep the option to do it if for some very unforeseen reason we have to.
Many municipalities do pass the local law as a safeguard. And then Eric, can you speak to, once we pass it and we don't use it, do we have to legally rescind it? Or is it just an automatic?
Yeah, man, I don't think the statute speaks to that. But historically, towns who haven't used it have rescinded it. I don't think it's necessarily required by the statute, but was my understanding that there was some administrative regulations with the comptroller's office where they prefer you rescind it if it's not needed.
Okay. Bob, Jim, or Karen, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a worthwhile exercise to have in our pocket in case we need it.
I agree with Bob.
And I just one other thing, we are into October, so I would suggest that the option be discussed earlier in the budget process in future years, so that we're not just doing it as a formality near the end.
Just have it be part of the conversation at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I just like to point out that, some of the reason that you do this is when you look at the tax cap, right now, all we can increase the town budget by is 1.6%, which really doesn't give us a lot of money to work with.
And I have already gone in and done, completed the tax cap form. It's not submitted yet, right? But it does give you the opportunity to see where you're at with the budget figures. So it sounds like everybody's in agreement that we would like to move forward with this local law. We also have to create a date for a public hearing. That's my understanding. And so I'm wondering if the board wants to consider that when we talk about setting a public hearing for the 2021 budget. Can we do that together, Eric?
I don't see the point in doing that. I think we would have to do it before we're actually having the hearing to adopt the budget.
Well, I'm talking about setting the public hearing.
Yeah, but you're saying
we have to do it separate. That was my question to Eric.
Marion, do you typically adopt the budget at the end of the public hearing?
I think we did that last year. I'm not sure about the year before. I'd have to think about that, but.
And that doesn't, what's the point of a public hearing if you're gonna, okay, public, what do you think about our budget? And 10 minutes later, we're gonna adopt it. We don't know what we're gonna get. So I think I don't have my calendar right in front of me about what our time frame needs to be on these.
We need to set 2 public hearings on different days. It sounds like.
No,
I don't think we need to do 2 different days. I want to set the public hearing for the budget to give me time to react to something.
I'm talking about the tax cap public hearing.
I understand it, but I think the two are related. So we should set both public hearings as soon as possible and leave ourselves time to react to whatever feedback we get.
I I would think the public hearing, but to override the tax cap has to happen before we have a public hearing on the actual budget, because how can we be presenting a budget if we don't know whether or not we're going over the tax cap or not?
Well, it's not the public hearing that defines your obligations, Bob. It's the final adoption of the budget. And the local law has to be passed before the final adoption of that budget,
Okay.
right? It's got to, well, it not only has to be passed, but it has to be filed as the local law, right? So you just, you kind of back off that time frame. It's the first, I can't remember the exact date that the final budgets are due this year, but it's early November, right? So, I mean, you got to back off, at least the 10 days for the, or 5 days for the public hearing. And you got to have the legislation in final form on your desk at least 7 days before the hearing on the local law. So, and then, you probably want to leave a week to get it filed with the Secretary of State's office. So, sometime in the, third week of October, last week of October would be the absolute latest you'd want to have the public hearing to adopt the tax cap local law.
And then the public hearing for the budget has to be held on or prior to the date after Election Day.
Yeah, and I guess the point I was trying to make is if we're going to set a public hearing to present the final budget before it's adopted to the public, it seems like we would have already come to the conclusion as to whether or not we were going to need to override the tax cap already. So I would suggest if we're going to meet for another budget work session next week to finalize before the public hearing, that's when we override the tax, have the public hearing for the override the tax cap. But to do, I mean, it will be a moot point if we're presenting a budget that doesn't require us to go over the tax cap. Why would we have that public hearing? I mean, it would need, in my mind, it would be cleaner if there was some separation between those public hearings. But maybe not. I don't know.
Well, and you know what? I should have started the meeting by adding the 2021 budget to the agenda as well. Just for one final conversation, because we're also supposed to be presenting a preliminary budget to the clerk to legally post before we have the public hearing as well.
Well, let's. I know this is on the.
Why don't we come back to that, if that's all right with everybody? Just think about that, and then we'll.
Yeah, we got the public hearing later on the agenda, so let's. I think if we work around the public hearing for the budget itself, then we can see.
Then we'll go
the tax cap thing works in.
Okay, so why don't we go to the next item on the agenda under new business? Excuse me. Accept resignation of Highway Superintendent Terry Billings and discuss the Highway Superintendent vacancy. So I need a motion to formally accept the resignation with gratitude of Highway Superintendent Terry Billings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jim Smith, seconded by Bob Washoe. Is there any other comments, concerns, or questions?
Well, I'd just like to say as, excuse me, a 5-year member of the Highway Committee and someone who sat next to Terry in a couple of years of board meetings before I was elected, I consider it an honor to have had a chance to work with him. It hasn't always been easy, but this is difficult stuff. But we always seem to land in the same place typically. And I have the utmost respect for Terry and just appreciate everything that he's done for the town and for the education he's offered me along the way.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? I would also like to extend heartfelt gratitude for his service. That's a long time, 27 years, in our largest department, that is over half of our budget, 1.6 million. To take care of 100 miles of road is quite the task at hand. So I also extend sincere appreciation for his service. Anyone else?
I'll echo the thoughts. Already 27 years is very, very impressive.
Okay.
I would
All
like
right, so I have a motion on the table with a second. So I'm going to take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, carried. Not that we had a choice or anything, right? But it is on the record now. Okay, so
Yeah.
then,
Linda just had her hand up and her video on.
oh, okay, Linda.
I would also like to thank my many years of working with Terry and what he's done for our highway department. And listen,
Okay, thank you, Linda.
he's always taken care of any questions I've ever had on Minor Street Road, and I know other people also. So he did a good job, and yeah, he has to be thanked. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Linda.
Bye.
The next item is discuss the highway superintendent vacancy. I'm going to turn it over to our highway committee, Bob and Jim.
All right, I'll start with just a little bit of history. Won't take long. I got elected town supervisor in 1994. When I got elected, we did not have a highway superintendent. On the ballot in 93 was a proposition to change from an elected highway superintendent to an appointed highway superintendent. Consequently, nobody ran for the position. And what happened was the village superintendent, actually Charlie Carbo, got 7 write-in votes and was elected highway superintendent. Charlie was not interested in it and did not accept, or he resigned. So it left a vacancy. And so we started out the year without a highway superintendent. And when we discussed it amongst the board, I had heard that Terry Billings, who was a road patrol officer for the sheriff's department, was always interested in roads. Made sense. His father was a highway superintendent for the town of Lisbon for a number of years. And so I reached out to him with the approval of the rest of the board. And after a considerable amount of begging, he finally agreed that he would give it a try since it was an unappointed position. And the sheriff at the time, Keith Knowlton, was very good. He said, if you want to try this, Terry, I'll give you leave so you can try it. But he had to decide certainly by June whether he was going to be interested in running for it, because it is an elected position and he was going to have to run for it in November of 94 for the unexpired 3-year term. And so he came on board. He decided he just loved it. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to him. He won't agree with me on that, but anyway, he got elected and got elected a number of times. And I just thought it was it was a little emotional when on the 24th of September, I pulled in the driveway to my garage and he was sitting there handing me the resignation. It did not come as a surprise. Terry had told the committee as early as the first part of the year. In fact, he told the committee after he got elected the last time that he might not finish the term. But as early as January of this year, he told us that we should be looking for somebody to replace. And of course, COVID hit. It went by the wayside. They had challenges of their own and whatnot. And so it was left kind of quiet until, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. And Terry came to the committee and said, I have a person that is in the department that is interested in stepping up into my position. And so we met with Terry, the committee did, Bob and I. We got informed of who the person was. We met with that individual and liked what we heard. And so in trying to work out some or all of this, we did finally come to a conclusion that this gentleman's ready to move in. And so Terry handed his resignation, and we have someone that we're interested in appointing. Just so everybody understands, this is an appointment that the town board can make and really needs to make, because it's a very important position. But you need to understand that this person is going to serve in that capacity as an appointed person in order for that person to keep highway superintendent. They will have to run for the position in November, and it will be for a 4-year term.
I don't know who's talking. They can't see me.
Oh, excuse me, Linda, can you mute yourself, please? Okay, great. Thank
And
you.
so with that being said, as a member of the Highway Committee, I make a motion to appoint Kelvin Rose, Highway Superintendent for the town of Canton, at a salary of $62,500. Calvin would be coming to the town as a 22-year veteran of the highway department. He came in as a motor equipment operator. He is currently a heavy equipment operator. It'll be the first time that we have ever seen, in my knowing, a highway superintendent fill that position that has experience in highway construction and maintenance. And so it took a big load off from, I think, Terry, and off from the Highway Committee, that Calvin stepped forward, and I appreciate it.
I second that emotion, or that motion, emotion. Freudian slip, my apologies. I second that motion. You know, it's been, like I said, it's been a very interesting few months, especially the last month. And part of what's been exciting for me is getting to know some more people in the department. You know, Terry was a pretty large figure. He loomed large in that building. And now in his absence, I've had the opportunity, since the board essentially has been tasked with managing the highway department in the interim with Terry gone. It's been great to get to know Calvin and start to have some conversations and hear his thoughts. And I think it's also important to know that, like Jim said, this is an appointed position until the next election, or the end of the term, actually, in December 31st, 2021. And that the board will still actively be engaged in the highway department, the committee, because we ultimately, in this interim period, through Calvin, still oversee the highway department. And it's not until we have another elected official to run it that we basically hand the baton officially over. So I'm looking forward to this period of time and see where it goes.
Okay, so we do have a motion. We do have by Jim Smith. We have a second by Bob Washoe. Any further comments?
Bob and Jim, I just want to thank you for your leadership and your work during the transition.
same. I know Bob and Jim have been putting in a ton of extra time here. So thanks to them. Thanks to Calvin for stepping up. I'm looking forward to having him come on board. And again, thanks to Mark and everybody in the department that's been keeping the wheels on.
Okay. I just had a quick question. Is Calvin on with us? Is he here?
No.
I don't believe
Yes,
so.
I don't see, I see,
Oh,
I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
You're the second Steve Smith?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So I would just like to say thank you to the committee. A tremendous amount of work. It's been a process. It's been a very healthy process going through. I appreciate Kelvin stepping forward and wanting to take the leadership of the department. It's good. It's organic to have somebody from within, and I look forward to working with Kelvin and the crew as we move forward. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it would be effective October 12th. So we'll just put that on the record. I don't think we need to amend the motion, right? The motion to that effect. So, so I'm going to take a vote now. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Carried. Kelvin, if this was an in-person meeting, I would stand up and shake your hand. Well, maybe just do an elbow bump, but would you like to comment on anything?
Well, I'm a man of few words, so I'll keep it short.
Okay.
I'd like to thank the board for your opportunity to be appointed, and it's a great opportunity. Also, I'd like to thank my family and friends for the encouragement to do it. Other than that, thank you.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it. A press release will be released right after this. So thank you, Kelvin.
Thank you.
All right. It is emotional, isn't it? Look forward to it. If you would just allow me, I want to hit send on this right now. Okay. The next item on the agenda is to set a public hearing for the 2021 budget. We had time to think about the local law for the tax cap as well. And you'll forgive me for my confusion, but I just need clarity. Do we need to have a public hearing on the budget first or the tax cap law to override?
I mean, again, legally, it doesn't matter. I mean, as a practical matter, adopting the tax cap before doing the public hearing on the budget might be the easiest way to get this done.
Okay. So, board, when would you like to do this? Election day is coming up as well. So would you like to do it the week of the 19th? Or the week of the 26th?
I mean, you mentioned earlier, Mary Ann, that you thought this was our final budget discussion. Are you certain of that, or
No,
do we?
I'm not certain of that.
Okay.
You know, I wanted to put it on the agenda because we did, you know, have that that budget workshop, and I've sent you in what we've done, and I just wanted to report out on that, on where we're at with the changes we've made, and then
My suggestion would be then to schedule the public hearing to override the tax cap for next week, and that gives us the option to also talk about any further budget issues that we need to. And if we don't need to talk about budget stuff, we can just have the public hearing and call it a day.
Well, my feeling is we need to talk about budget stuff because the copy of the new budget that I picked up this morning I've got questions with regard to it. We've got, it's not a balanced budget, so I think we need to, my feeling is we should set a date for another budget discussion, but have a public hearing prior to that budget discussion on overriding tax cap. Do the budget discussion, and then afterwards, when we're done with that budget discussion, we could set a public hearing for the budget.
I agree.
But I think there's a timeline. Eric, can you confirm that as far as setting a public hearing for the local law? What is our timeline? Is that a 5-day window or a 10-day window?
It's 5 days.
So we would have to send out the legal notice tomorrow.
And then meet on Friday morning, maybe?
If we send it out tomorrow, when will it be published?
Well, this is the problem. It is a holiday weekend, right? Lisa, and Heidi would have to work on that first thing in the morning to get the legal notice to the paper. And I don't know when they would be able to put it in the paper. And it is a holiday weekend. So I don't know that we could fit it in the 5-day window.
Well, could we meet on the 19th?
How about
I
that
was going
Monday?
to suggest Monday the 19th.
Sure.
Is everybody good with that?
Sure.
So that would be a public hearing for the local law to override the tax cap.
And a budget work session.
A budget work session. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the 19th, what time? In order to allow the public to participate, I would prefer to have it after 4 p.m.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
I have another meeting at 7 p.m. that night, so I don't know if we can do it in an hour.
How about 5:30?
I don't.
We have to make sure that one of our clerks is available as well.
I don't know if it's going to take more than an hour. We got the issue of the shortfall in DB. We're off by what, 60-some thousand. So I think it's more just a discussion of that. And the other thing that I was going to point out is, since there is a shortfall in DB, I think you have to go back to A and remove that 10,000 from sales tax distribution. That 10,000 is going to have to move to DB to bring that figure down from 62 down to 52. That's town outside. That 10,000 is town outside money, and it's got to go to B or DB to satisfy those accounts before we can use it anywhere else. And so if we can, if you're going to increase revenues some other way, then maybe that's okay. But if you can't have a shortfall in B or DB and put money, sales tax money, in either of the A accounts, or either in the A or the DA. It has to be used. It has to be used in the B accounts, and currently there's 10,000 in A. So you got to move that to DB. So that figure is going to go down, but it's going to make you short in A.
So if we do decide to go fund balance, we'd have to take some fund balance out of A to balance that account, rather than take it all out of.
Well, it's either that, or your rate goes from 275 to 278. A penny gets you $3,800. That's what it amounts to.
And as far as the tax cap, I think that would be doable. Okay, well, do you want us to look at that again?
Well, I think that was in regard to the time. So we were either going to meet at 5:30 or 6 on the 18th. That's what we're talking about.
The 19th.
19th.
Yeah, 19th, sorry.
Okay, Heidi, if you wouldn't mind looking at your schedule and asking Lisa tomorrow, 5:30 on the 19th, I'd appreciate that. I am not in the office tomorrow, but we will talk over the phone.
We're setting the public hearing for 5:30 with the budget work session to follow. I don't think the public hearing needs to be any more than 5 minutes. Scheduled. If it runs long, it runs long, but we set public hearing for 5:30 and budget work session for 5:35.
Is the rest of the board good with that?
Yep, I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, and I'll confirm that a clerk is available at that time as well.
So are we still intending, we're intending to wait until then to set our budget public hearing?
Yeah, why not? Or,
Well, I would prefer if we could maybe ballpark it now, because we have to have a public hearing before Wednesday, the 4th of November. So if we can set a tentative one now, that would help because we have to do a legal notice. And then, the final, like a preliminary budget. Once after that budget work session, then we have to make it a preliminary budget, give it to the clerk to legally notice and post.
come up with a date. Come up with a
Can you
date.
remind us, Marion, can you just remind us, so November 4th is the latest possible day for the budget public hearing, and what's our deadline to pass the budget after that?
I'm the 20th, I believe.
Okay, so we got time. So I would like to, if we can do something this last week of October, I think that gives us time to react to anything we get out of the public hearing and possibly be in position
Well, what you have to
pass our
remember,
budget at our regular November meeting without having to do another extra session.
which is on the 12th. What you have to remember is, if there's going to be more changes to the budget on the 19th, we have to have time to turn that around, give it to Gray and Gray, and then just make sure everybody's good, and that'll be a preliminary budget to be posted.
I understand that. We also need to have time to react to what we hear from the public, right? There's a reason whether a public hearing is required for the budget.
I know, but what I'm saying, Tim, is that there's a window that you have to legally post it, right?
So what's wrong with the last week of October? That works. That meets everything that everybody's requesting.
29th.
At 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll throw something else out. Any chance that can be in person?
I would love it for it to be in person.
We don't have the technology to take it publicly.
We won't have by the 29th either.
I'm not going to make you any promises.
Okay.
It's got to be at least a 5-day window to legally notice it. So I'm just thinking, John, I don't know what the schedule would be if we got something done on the 19th. If the turnaround could be, Susan and I crunch the numbers in the morning, and then we would get it down to Gray and Gray, and then we would have to distribute it to the board to make sure that we're good to go.
Are you saying the 26th or the 29th?
What I'm just trying to do the timeline of what needs to be done, and then if everybody's good with it after we get it to them and we legally notice it by the 22nd at the latest, I think we would be in good shape for the 29th.
So it's a Thursday, the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think we could do that.
Okay.
John? Oh, John, can you unmute yourself?
When would you get it to us, Marianne?
Well, if the board does more work on it on the 19th, the morning of the 20th, we would crunch the numbers and hopefully get it to you by noon on the 20th. And then if there could be a turnaround with your office that afternoon.
Same day. We'll try.
Okay. And then we'll do the legwork as far as getting the legal notice ready to go out. With the legal notice, we have to be able to post the budget. And that's a preliminary budget. So
Again, you're saying October 29th at 6 p.m., right?
if it all works out.
Okay.
And Heidi, if you could also write that down as far as your schedule or Lisa's, and just confirm that you're available. I'd appreciate that. Okay, very good. The next item on the agenda is the JCAP grant resolution. Each year, the court puts in for JCAP funding. They've been very successful. A lot has been done. You were sent, it's in the building packet. Therefore, be it resolved, the town of Canton does hereby support an application for an assistance program grant that will allow for updated needs of office equipment and systems and building renovations to meet their needs. I need a motion to accept this.
Motion.
Motion by Bob Washoe. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Karen Blackburn. Any further questions or concerns? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Carried.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is we received the New York State Comptroller's Office fiscal stress score and designation, and I couldn't be prouder. This is our score has gone down as far as fiscal stress. We are no designation, and the score has gone down as far as environmental stress designation. So that is also available on file should anybody be interested. So I just wanted to go on record that we received that. And I commend the town board for all the due diligence as far as the town finances and how we've turned things around. It's appreciated. The next item is to have approval to purchase, what's it called? An owl camera? Is that-
Owl's head camera.
Okay, so I need a motion from someone from the committee to make that and with the specifics, please.
I'll make a motion for approval of up to $750 for technology hardware to broadcast meetings virtually. I don't want to get stuck on brand labels, just in case we need to go another direction.
Okay, and is there a recommendation as to where to pay this out of?
Is there
have
is there board money still available?
There is.
Let's spend it. Let's have the board buy it.
Makes
Okay.
sense to me.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, just another question. So will the village be purchasing this and then we reimburse?
We haven't gotten there. We'll let you know. And I think it's worth noting that the village has offered the use of a They just bought a few new laptops, and they've offered the use of a laptop that will be also required to pull this off. So we should. I don't know how long that offer is going to stand there, but for now we're going to use a village laptop.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Just so I'm clear, so this is just the camera. Are we anticipating
it's
a device that will allow remote participation of public meetings,
Yes.
like for public comment?
Yeah, it's what we're shooting for is if we go with the Owls Pro camera, what it does is it takes a panoramic view of the board, plus it has a second camera that will bring an up-close picture of the person who's actually speaking. There's microphones that pick up to 18 feet. And then we would also be purchasing potentially a speaker so that if we are in person, somebody who's calling in then it can come through the speaker so everybody in the room would then be able to hear. We're trying to plan for every contingency.
Excellent.
The platform will continue to be Zoom though.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe in the courtroom, the Wi-Fi has been upgraded, but we'll double check with court on that.
Is the, well, I would encourage the committee to try and, it can be a bit of a pain, but if we can go hardwired on this camera, that's going to be helpful in the long run.
We're like I said in the committee reports, we're going to get this with the idea that we have a 30-day window to troubleshoot what's the best way to operate it.
Okay.
So we could, yeah, so we could like test it on Wi-Fi, but with the eventual goal that if we like this hardware, then go Ethernet cable to give it a very stable connection.
Yeah, we're going to test the equipment out, do all of that before we put it in place.
Okay. Just for the record, we have $1,987 in that account. So, okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, Carrie. Thank you, IT committee. Looking forward to that.
Communication and technology, thank you.
You're welcome, Bob. You're welcome. The next item is public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, moving forward, I need a motion. Wouldn't be a meeting without one, to go into executive session under Public Officers Law 105 F and yeah, F. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Karen. Was that a second by Bob? Okay.
Name, it doesn't matter.
So all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Aye.
So, thank you, everybody else, for coming. Heidi and Karen will need to stop the recording, and then the host would go over to you, Karen.
Yep, it's already there.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Heidi, you're good to go too. Thank you.
Do I just end, Karen?
Yeah, just end for you, but not end for all.
Okay.
Thank you, Heidi.
Oh, you're welcome. So just end, leave meeting?
Yep.
Okay. It says assign and leave. Just click on your name.
Whose name?
Yours. It says assign and leave before I go.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Karen, can you please stop the recording? Eric, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you all.
Okay. So I need a motion to adjourn at 9:08.
So moved.
Second.
Karen and Bob. All right, everybody.
Yeah, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Yep,
Aye.
thank
Good
you.
night,
All in
everyone.
favor, blah,
Good
blah.
night.
All right, good night. Thank you. Karen, thanks for your help with Heidi. Appreciate
Yep.
that. All right, good night.
Bye.